We've all heard of spiritual awakening, the sudden realization of a higher state of consciousness, the moment when everything becomes clear and life feels full of meaning. This concept has been romanticized in books, movies, and teachings across many spiritual traditions. People often describe it as a blissful experience where the mysteries of life unravel, where everything aligns perfectly and you feel enlightened. It's a journey of enlightenment, a seamless transition into a higher state of being, where the pain of human existence melts away, replaced with joy and peace. But what if this perception of awakening is incomplete, even misleading? What if what you've been told about spiritual awakening is just a polished version of the truth, one that leaves out some of the deeper, often darker aspects of the process? Awakening is not just a walk into the light, it is also a confrontation with the darkness within. It involves challenging our deepest fears, confronting insecurities, and facing the hidden truths that have long been buried beneath the surface of our conscious minds. Spiritual awakening is not an escape from the human condition, but rather a confrontation with it. It is about embracing everything, both the light and the dark, and integrating them into a wholeness that brings us closer to our true essence. The truth about spiritual awakening is more complicated, more raw, and more transformative than the simple, blissful picture we often hear about. Many people expect that awakening will somehow solve all their problems. The idea is that once we awaken, we will be free from suffering, from the pain and uncertainty of life. We might think that awakening will bring us into a permanent state of peace and joy. We envision ourselves floating above the world's turmoil, untouched by its challenges. But the reality is far different. Awakening does not remove pain. Instead, it changes how we perceive and respond to it. Awakening isn't a state of constant happiness or tranquility. It's about learning to engage with pain, suffering, and fear from a place of deep awareness rather than avoidance. One of the first shocks that many experience on their spiritual journey is the realization that awakening doesn't free us from the challenges of life. It makes us more aware of them. The moment we begin to open up to higher consciousness, the difficulties we have been hiding from, whether in the form of unresolved emotional trauma, societal pressures, or personal limitations, come rushing to the surface. Far from elevating us above the ordinary human experience, awakening brings us face to face with it. It makes the flaws, doubts, and fears we carry impossible to ignore, demanding that we confront them rather than run from them. Awakening doesn't make us immune to suffering. It makes us more acutely aware of its existence and its role in our lives. This awakening brings with it a deeper understanding that pain, loss, and fear are integral to the human experience. Rather than wishing them away, we learn to coexist with them, to transform our relationship with them. We realize that we don't need to avoid pain to find peace. Instead, we can find peace within the pain itself. The way we approach life shifts. We begin to accept it for what it is, with all its imperfections, its messiness, and its unpredictability. And in that acceptance, we begin to find a kind of peace that doesn't rely on perfection or the absence of suffering. But alongside the light, there is also the shadow, the parts of ourselves that we have hidden, ignored, or rejected. These shadows are often made up of the very emotions, memories, and traits that we find uncomfortable or painful. They are the parts of ourselves that we try to suppress or deny, whether because they are socially unacceptable, because they remind us of past hurts, or because they challenge the image we wish to project to the world. However, these shadows don't simply disappear when we choose to ignore them. They continue to exist, influencing our thoughts, actions, and relationships in subtle, unconscious ways. The process of awakening involves facing this shadow, no matter how uncomfortable it may be. At first, it may feel as though the shadow is overwhelming, an intimidating force that holds power over us. It may seem like something to be feared or avoided, but in reality, the shadow is not simply darkness. It also holds a vast source of untapped energy. When we repress our emotions, memories, or traits, we lose the ability to tap into the power they contain. We become drained, fragmented, and disconnected from our true selves. Yet, when we allow ourselves to confront and integrate the shadow, we access this hidden energy. It is through the process of embracing the shadow that we are able to reclaim the parts of ourselves that we have denied, and in doing so, become whole again. This is one of the most powerful aspects of spiritual awakening. When we face our shadows, we gain access to deeper levels of consciousness and personal power. The pain and discomfort that come with facing our shadows are not signs that we are failing, but signs that we are growing. It is through this process that we learn to embrace our humanity fully, not as something to be transcended or eliminated, but as something to be celebrated and integrated. The more we face our fears, our insecurities, and our wounds, the more we realize that they are not separate from us. They are part of who we are, and by accepting them, we become stronger, more resilient, and more compassionate. As we move deeper into our spiritual awakening, we come to realize that one of the greatest obstacles we face is not external circumstances, but the ego. The ego is the structure of identity that forms around our sense of self. It is the part of us that clings to labels, achievements, and stories about who we are. The ego is not inherently bad. It is simply a survival mechanism that helps us navigate the world. However, the ego can become a barrier to awakening when it begins to over-identify with these external markers and believes that it is separate from the rest of existence. The ego resists spiritual awakening because it feels threatened by the dissolution of the boundaries that separate us from others. The ego thrives on control, validation, and distinction. It wants to feel superior, unique, and special. When we begin to awaken, we see through these illusions. We start to recognize that the sense of self we have constructed is not as solid or permanent as we once thought. This realization can be unsettling. The ego fights back against this realization because it feels as though its very existence is at stake. We may experience fear, anger, or even confusion as the ego scrambles to maintain control. The process of awakening is, in many ways, the dismantling of the ego's illusions. True awakening does not inflate the ego's sense of self. It deflates it. It humbles us. It shows us that we are not separate, isolated beings. We are part of a vast, interconnected web of life. Our sense of identity is not defined by our achievements, titles, or possessions. We are not defined by the roles we play or the image we project to the world. Awakening reveals that the ego, in all its forms, is just a mask. Beneath it, we find a deeper, more authentic self, one that is connected to everything and everyone. This process of ego dissolution can be painful. It often leads to feelings of disillusionment. We may feel as though everything we once believed in, our beliefs, our values, even our sense of purpose, is being stripped away. At first, this may feel like a loss. We may experience a deep sense of emptiness or confusion, unsure of who we are or what we stand for. But this disillusionment is not something to be feared. It is an essential part of the process. It is only by letting go of false beliefs and identities that we can make room for something deeper, more authentic, and more grounded in reality. Disillusionment opens the door to self-discovery. It clears away the illusions, allowing us to reconnect with our true nature. Throughout this journey, we are called to do the difficult work of integrating the shadow, accepting and embracing the parts of ourselves we have long denied. This is not an easy task. It requires deep honesty, vulnerability, and courage. But it is through this integration that we experience true transformation. We stop projecting our unacknowledged traits onto others. We stop judging ourselves and others for our imperfections. We learn to love and accept ourselves fully as we are, and in doing so, we stop holding on to the illusion that we are separate, incomplete, or unworthy. Along the way, it is about recognizing that we are not our thoughts, our emotions, or our achievements. We are the awareness that observes them. When we transcend the ego, we come into alignment with our true essence, an essence that is not separate from the rest of existence, but deeply interconnected with all life. Awakening to this reality shifts our perception, and instead of feeling like isolated individuals, we start to experience the world as an intricate web of energy, experiences, and relationships, all interconnected in profound ways. This realization is transformative. It is not just an intellectual understanding, but a direct, lived experience. Spiritual awakening is not a destination. It is an ongoing journey. It is about embracing the full spectrum of life, the light and the shadow, the joy and the pain, the strength and the vulnerability. It is about living authentically, with awareness and acceptance, embracing all parts of ourselves and others. It is not about perfection, it is about integration. It is about fully experiencing life with all its messiness, its challenges, and its beauty. Once we begin to integrate the awareness that comes with awakening, we realize that peace does not come from avoiding discomfort, but from embracing it with courage and compassion. We learn that true peace is not the absence of suffering, but the ability to remain present and grounded even in the midst of suffering. Awakening doesn't make us immune to hardship, but it provides us with a deeper capacity to navigate it with wisdom and grace. This doesn't mean that we must chase after suffering or seek out discomfort, but rather we begin to understand that challenges are part of the ebb and flow of life. They do not define us, nor do they diminish our worth. Instead, they become opportunities for growth and evolution. They become teachers, helping us uncover deeper truths about who we are and what we are capable of. Through these challenges, we deepen our compassion for ourselves and for others. The more we awaken to our true nature, the more we realize how much we are capable of loving, forgiving, and healing, not only others, but also ourselves. As we walk this path, we come to understand that spiritual awakening is not about achieving perfection or an ideal state of being. It is not about becoming flawless, nor is it about transcending the human condition. True spiritual awakening involves embracing imperfection. We begin to see that our flaws and weaknesses are not something to be ashamed of, but are an essential part of the human experience. It is through our imperfections that we learn, evolve, and become more compassionate beings. The more we can accept ourselves with all of our flaws, the more we are able to accept others in their imperfections as well. One of the key realizations that comes with awakening is that life is not about avoiding challenges or striving for a state of perfect happiness. Life is about learning to flow with the natural rhythm of existence, accepting the good and the bad, the joy and the pain. In embracing the fullness of our human experience, we discover a peace that is not contingent upon external circumstances. We come to realize that true freedom lies not in escaping life's challenges, but in learning to engage with them with wisdom, humility, and grace. Presence becomes a key component of spiritual awakening. As we become more aware of our true nature, we are drawn to the present moment, the only moment that truly exists. The past and the future are constructs of the mind, whereas the present is the only place where we can truly experience life. When we are fully present, we open ourselves to the richness of each moment, to the beauty, pain, and wonder that life has to offer. Presence is not about forcing ourselves to be happy or to ignore the struggles of life. It is about being fully engaged with whatever is happening right now, without judgment or resistance. It is about experiencing life as it is, without the filters and distortions created by the ego. The more present we become, the more we are able to experience life as it truly is, raw, unfiltered, and real. We stop running from our emotions and start embracing them as part of the full spectrum of human experience. We stop resisting the natural flow of life and instead begin to move with it, accepting whatever comes with an open heart. In this state of presence, we experience a deeper sense of connection to ourselves, to others, and to the world around us. It is in these moments of presence that we often find glimpses of true peace, moments where the mind quiets, the ego dissolves, and we are simply being. One of the most profound transformations that come with spiritual awakening is the cultivation of compassion. As we awaken to the interconnectedness of all life, we begin to see the struggles of others as our own. We recognize that every individual is on their own unique journey, with their own set of challenges, fears, and wounds. As we become more compassionate toward ourselves, we naturally extend that compassion to others. We stop judging, condemning, or feeling superior to those who are struggling, and instead we offer our support, understanding, and love. Compassion is not just a feeling, but an action. It is about showing up for others, being present, listening, and offering a helping hand when needed. It is about recognizing that we are all in this together, and that the suffering of one is the suffering of all. As we awaken, we begin to embody a love that transcends boundaries, love that is not based on what others can do for us or how they behave, but love that is unconditional and all-encompassing. As we continue to awaken, we also realize the role of the mind in shaping our reality. The mind often acts as a barrier to awakening. It creates stories, judgments, and labels that keep us trapped in illusion. It convinces us that we are separate from others, that we are not enough, or that we need to achieve certain things in order to be worthy. The mind tells us that we must be something to be valuable, and that we must constantly strive for success, happiness, or perfection. The awakening process involves seeing through these mental constructs. We begin to understand that we are not our thoughts. We are the awareness behind the thoughts. When we are able to observe the mind without identifying with it, we open ourselves to a greater sense of peace. We no longer feel the need to control or manipulate reality in order to find happiness. Instead, we begin to trust in the flow of life, knowing that we are exactly where we need to be. This understanding allows us to step out of the mental patterns that keep us stuck in suffering. We stop overthinking, overanalyzing, and seeking validation from external sources. We begin to live with a sense of inner freedom, trusting that the answers we seek are already within us. The mind is still a tool that we use to navigate the world, but it no longer dominates our experience. We are no longer trapped in the cycle of endless thought. Instead, we are grounded in the present moment, where true peace resides. Spiritual awakening is not a single event, nor is it a linear process. It is an ongoing journey that unfolds over time. As we continue to awaken, we find that the path is not always easy or straightforward. There will be moments of clarity, where everything makes sense, and there will be moments of confusion and doubt. There will be times when we feel on top of the world, and other times when we feel lost and unsure. This is the nature of the journey. But with each step we take, we move closer to the truth of who we are. We learn to embrace the full spectrum of life, the light and the shadow, the joy and the pain, the successes and the failures. We learn to let go of our attachments to outcomes, to control, and to the need for validation. We begin to live more authentically from a place of love, presence, and deep awareness. If this journey resonates with you, take the next step today. Start by exploring your own shadow. Ask yourself what parts of you need acknowledgement and healing. Take a moment to reflect on the ways in which you have been avoiding or rejecting parts of yourself. It is through this exploration that true transformation begins. If you found this video helpful, please give it a like, share it with someone who might need this perspective, and don't forget to subscribe for more insights on spiritual growth and self-discovery. Let's continue this journey together, supporting and guiding each other as we embrace the full experience of awakening. Thank you for watching, and I look forward to seeing you in the next video.